In the ancient world, there was one man whose name became synonymous with power, ambition, and conquest. A name that echoes through history, Alexander the Great. Born in 356 BCE in the ancient kingdom of Macedonia, Alexander III, son of King Philip II, would go on to become one of the most successful and revered military leaders in history. But his story was not just one of conquest, it was a tale of brilliance, legacy, and a vision that stretched far beyond his time. From a young age, Alexander was groomed for greatness. His father, King Philip II, recognized his potential and made sure Alexander received the finest education. He was taught by none other than the great philosopher Aristotle, who instilled in him a love for knowledge, philosophy, and science. At just 16 years old, Alexander showed his military prowess. When his father left to campaign, Alexander was left in charge of Macedonia. In his short time as regent, he won his first battle, defeating a rebellious Greek city-state and founding the city of Alexandria, a name that would become legendary. But it was the sudden assassination of his father in 336 BCE that thrust Alexander into the spotlight. At just 20 years old, he ascended to the throne. But his reign would not be handed to him easily. Many saw him as young, inexperienced, and vulnerable. But Alexander had a vision, to unite Greece and the world beyond under his rule. Alexander wasted no time asserting his power. He crushed rebellions in Greece, including the famous Thebes revolt, and established himself as the undisputed ruler of the Greek world. But this was just the beginning. In 334 BCE, Alexander set his sights on the mighty Persian Empire, the largest empire the world had ever seen. Leading an army of just 35,000 men, he crossed into Asia Minor, determined to bring the Persian Empire to its knees. The odds were stacked against him, but Alexander's strategic genius and boldness would soon become legendary. The Battle of Granicus was his first major victory. Despite the Persian forces outnumbering him, Alexander's forces triumphed. This victory opened the doors to the Persian heartland, and Alexander's momentum only grew stronger. In 333 BCE, Alexander faced King Darius III of Persia at the Battle of Issus. In a brilliant display of tactics, Alexander decisively defeated Darius, forcing the Persian king to flee. But this wasn't just a military victory, it was the beginning of Alexander's rise as a true conqueror. After the victory at Issus, Alexander turned his attention south to Egypt, where he was hailed as a liberator and declared pharaoh. In Egypt, he founded the city of Alexandria, a city that would become a center of culture, learning, and power for centuries to come. But Alexander wasn't done yet. In 331 BCE, he faced Darius again, this time at the Battle of Gaugamela, one of the most decisive battles in history. With an army of 47,000 men, Alexander faced Darius's massive forces of over 100,000 soldiers. In a spectacular display of military brilliance, Alexander crushed the Persian army, effectively ending the Persian Empire and securing his place as one of history's greatest conquerors. After Gaugamela, Alexander's empire stretched from Greece all the way to Egypt, Persia, and parts of India. In 326 BCE, he crossed into India, eager to continue his conquest. But the Battle of the Hydaspes against King Porus would be one of his most challenging. Despite the difficulties of fighting with elephants in the dense jungle terrain, Alexander emerged victorious. But the victories came at a cost. After years of unrelenting war, Alexander's soldiers, exhausted and far from home, refused to march further east. Reluctantly, Alexander turned back, marking the furthest point of his expansion. In 323 BCE, at just 32 years old, Alexander fell ill in the city of Babylon. Despite his strength and vigor, his health deteriorated rapidly, and on June 10, he passed away under mysterious circumstances. With his death, the empire Alexander built was left without a strong successor. His generals, known as the Diadochi, fought for control, ultimately dividing the empire into several Hellenistic kingdoms. But the mark Alexander left on the world was indelible. His legacy would live on in the cities he founded, the cultures he influenced, and the vision he inspired. Though his life was short, Alexander the Great's impact was monumental. He spread Greek culture far and wide, initiating the Hellenistic Age, a time of cultural exchange and growth. From the Mediterranean to India, his influence shaped the world for centuries to come. Alexander the Great, a name that lives on in the annals of history as a conqueror, a visionary, and a symbol of unyielding ambition.